Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Switch on your.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. We shall wait for a few minutes and then start. Any general questions about the last session that you have, you could ask. Hello? Have I got disconnected? So if there is any question that you would like to ask about the previous session, I will repeat 1 or 2 points, though. You can ask. We talked about diffusion. Okay, Basuraj, I understand. You can possibly get a recording of the class, which we send every time, both video recording and also the transcript. Now, transcript is done by the AI tool, Fireflies, so it has obvious limitations. I mean, always it can do a good job. Russian scientist Michinov, I can show you his name if I can find. Metchenko. Let me show you his name. And just to show you how people who have worked on people's knowledge can even get Nobel Prize. So he was Metchenkov in 1900. He noticed that people in Bulgaria lived very long. Anybody knows what the remaining story is? What did he find out? And what is he famous for? He got Nobel Prize, of course, but in 1908. But what is he famous for? Anybody knows? Well, he's father of immunity, autoimmune process in our physiological systems. And interferon gamma was one of the agents that contribute to this process. And how did he find out? So he noticed that people in Bulgaria lived long, and he wanted to know what could be the reason. Then he found that they take yogurt a lot. And yogurt had Lactobacillus bulgarinus, the bacteria that they identified, which changed the biota of the gut. Now today we are calling biome of the gut as a second brain. It was so much ahead of the time, 1908 with 1901, 02 we are talking about when he discovered this. So he analyzed the yogurt and he found this bacteria, and then further research led to development of whole range of scientific principles which explained how the autoimmune response of the body is governed by certain metabolites produced by such a certain kind of bacteria in our body, among other factors. So I wish really that those of you who wish to work on people's knowledge at any stage of your career also get Nobel Prize, also make wonderful discoveries, and make us all proud of what you do. Now, today is the last session, and we will discuss, where is the presentation? Just a minute. Okay. Let me just figure out where am I doing a mistake. There is something wrong that I'm doing and not figure out what. Hmm. What am I doing wrong? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not able to see the presentation. Where has it gone? I am doing, have I
So
opened?
what aren't you able to see?
See, now I found it. But when I do the share screen from here, I can't find my presentation. When I share the presentation, I don't find the screen. So what am I doing wrong?
सर आप यहाँ से शेयर पहले प्रेजेंटेशन वाला ये खोलिए
हाँ, खोला हुआ है।
अब इसमें आके और
हम्म,
शेयर कीजिए
तो वो क्यों नहीं खुल रहा है? वही तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा। मैंने 2 बार खोल दिया उसको, और जब प्रेजेंटेशन में जा रहा हूँ मैं, तो वो तो फिर वो स्क्रीन गायब हो जाता है जब प्रेजेंटेशन खोलता हूँ तो। दैट आई एम नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड। क्या करूँ मैं? दोबारा से बंद करके दोबारा से शुरू करूँ?
हाँ कर दीजिए
हाँ,
हाँ
तो
कर दीजिए
हाँ, वही करना पड़ेगा मुझे। I'm, I'm, I'm so sorry that I can be completely naive in these matters. I really don't understand what happens. So I will switch off everything. and rejoin. I'm finding the Zoom meeting, but Zoom meeting, I don't understand. I will leave and then join again. Oh, I was muted. Now tell me, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So we will look at policy and institutional implications for our research and see what lessons can be learned. And one of the things that I wanted to suggest to all of you is how can you be a bee which cross-pollinates ideas, which collects nectar, but without flowers complaining about it. They in fact attract the bees. So how can our behavior as a scholar be that we are welcomed by communities and other entrepreneurs and innovators at the grassroots level because they see us as a welcome ally? That's my hope that some of you would be feeling motivated enough to generate that feeling. Yesterday, I had mentioned that when Anamika suggested that I share this. Today, I want to repeat it because yesterday we were a little rushed. So, any environment which we have to analyze for our technology, for our research, for any policy change that we want to bring about, there are three elements in this environment: appreciable, influenceable, manipulable. The appreciable part is that which we cannot change, we cannot influence, it just is given. So, there are certain laws that apply and we can't really change them, at least not in the short run. Influenceable is what we can influence. So if there is a policy where they invite comments from us, we can influence the shape of the policy that will come about. Or if the government is open enough and is willing to consider changes, provided they get good feedback, we can influence. We can also influence the institutions which implement the policy. So we can go and meet the secretary or joint secretary or assistant chief secretary in the government and discuss with them our constraints and our opportunities, and maybe they can then modify the environment, modify the operational policy as against the espoused or declared policy for a particular sector. And third, of course, is manipulable, something that we can change. We can change the conditions of our own innovation, parameters of our own technology. We can change the scale at which we offer. We can change the resilience in our technology. We can change the initial investment required. We can also change it in terms of compatibility. So that is a very important factor that we can influence. And we all want inclusive innovations that are inclusive of the regions, remote areas, inclusive of the sectors, such as working manual labor, people who work the labor class and their problems, handloom, the problems of handloom. We hardly have introduced any new technology, any new bobbin or loom. Although Deepak Bharali in Guwahati, near Guwahati, has developed magnetic bobbins, which if you have seen sometime in sari, there are threads. On the one side, you find threads which have been cut. And this magnetic bobbins can move and do away with the wastage of threads. We can be inclusive when we take into account the extreme season or weather. And that's very important. So if there's a fluctuation in the environment, then how can our solutions take into account the risky conditions, flood, drought, hailstorm, snowfall? When people face such extreme weather conditions, will our solutions reach them? Will we be able to include the problems? I think I mentioned this, but I will repeat it. When we did a first Shod Yatra in Kashmir 2006-07 in Anantnag, there was a rain and we went into a shop. And there were two questions we asked. One, we said, is there anything made in Kashmir that we can buy? Because it was heavy rain and we were to wait in his shop for maybe 25 minutes or half an hour. And we thought we should buy something that we can consume. And he hadn't any snack made in that region. At that time, I'm talking about. And then we asked, what would be the impact of this hailstorm? There was a hailstorm taking place. And he said, the unripe apple will fall. And we said, what will be done with this apple which fall down? Nothing, sir. They will just rot. And I thought there was a resource here and one could develop some processes by which people could extract important compounds. So we didn't take into account. If no solutions has emerged, even today there is no solution as yet, which is available to apple orchard owners about what they do with the fallen apples. Social segments, of course, are excluded. So we would like to include SC, ST and others, the skills and knowledge of their people, and of course, the structure of governance, what kind of governance we have so that people don't feel excluded and are not excluded by design, by rules, by procedures, by policies, which are not accommodative of their constraints. We discussed this, and I would like to now mention one concept of economics. Yesterday I mentioned, but I like to explain it in a little more detail. So there are two kinds of transaction costs that we have when we want to transact. Let's say we want to license a technology. And for licensing technology, I need to search information. That is the first cost. So which are the companies which are working in the area in which my technology is applicable? So I have to find information about such companies. But that's not enough. I have to find supplier. Which company should I contact? I will do the analysis of the patents of that company. I will look at the product portfolio. I'll see whether my solution has direct bearing on some of these sort of production lines of that company where my solution can fit in. Third stage is I will have to negotiate the terms at which company may take interest in my solution, my technology. And then I draw up the contract. Now the license contract has been drawn up. What are the costs after that? Enforcement. So whatever terms we had agreed about down payment, about signing fee, then fee at the time of contract, then fee when we show the proof of concept, there could be different milestones. And at each milestone, some payment is due. So I have to enforce that. Then, and if it doesn't work, the company says, look, I'm not getting the same result that you got, a little less than what I expected. The yield is not good enough, or the machine is not working appropriately. So then you will either offer discount, or you say, all right, I will send a person and he will work it with you. And some additional cost is involved, which you have to bear. But then sometimes the client is not happy at all, and there is a conflict. And the client says, you have not delivered what you promised. And there is a breach of contract because you had promised that these are the conditions that you will be found in your solution. And I'm not finding that. Now, the conflict can be resolved either amicably or through education, through arbitration, or through various other methods, even court cases, or you redraw the contract if conflicts are not drawn. And that's how the problem is solved. Now, let me take a metaphorical way of saying this so that you can remember it. So let's say you want to see a movie. The first thing is searching information about which movie. Second thing is which cinema hall is showing that movie. And is that accessible to you nearby your place? If you have to see the movie, will it be able to come back in the night? So you go to the counter and you say, I need 2 tickets, I and my friend in the back side on the corner. And you negotiate, and then you may get the ticket. Ticket is a contract. In lieu of the money that you have paid, I promise to deliver you the seat with number XYZ at which you can sit and see the movie. Now comes the enforcement stage. I go to inside the hall, and the person with a torch takes me to the place, but there's somebody else sitting there. And that fellow happens to be relative of the owner of the cinema hall. So the person says, look, I can give you a better seat, but I can't disturb this person. He's a friend of our owner. And you tell me which seat would you prefer? And you say, no, I want to sit on the same seat. He offers you that I can give you a better seat tomorrow. I can give you 2 extra seats if you wish to bring 2 more friends tomorrow. I'm willing to do whatever. All that side payment is also offered, but you are not agreeing. I can upgrade your seat. You can go to the balcony, and you're not agreeing. Then there's a conflict. And after that, either you agree to sit wherever he's offering in the balcony, or you go and get the refund, or some solution has to be found. So the point is that no matter which transaction we take into account, ex ante transaction cost and ex post transaction cost are inevitably involved. And if we do not pay these costs properly, they are transferred to the weaker partner. So please remember that in policies, when we design policies, or when we find room for maneuver in the policy, and we'll take some case today, is one of the technology that you can offer, either water filter or something, and we will look at through all the issues in that technology, and towards the last part of our session, we will take and each concept that we discussed today will go through that concept in the context of a specific innovation that you will like to suggest. So now we look at the challenges that we face. One of the first questions that we ask is, why are innovative pathways so difficult to build and sustain? There are 4 reasons that we have discovered. Anamika and myself have discussed this issue. And one is that, of course, there is a constant need for learning and increased pressure for regular updating of the knowledge. Now, you will agree that whether it is technology transfer or it is negotiation for a large public procurement order, there will be problems which will come during the implementation. And I should be able to update the client about how to handle them. And for which not all the answers will be with me. I'll have to read literature, I'll have to talk to experts and provide that. So I should be willing to constantly upgrade my own knowledge and, of course, knowledge of the client to be able to deal with the challenges that emerge. Then sometimes policies are ambiguous and they do not necessarily favor a startup or a young inventor And people want to continue doing what they are doing. They don't really want to discontinue an ongoing process, even if it is a little less efficient than what I'm offering. That is a challenge that we have to face. Sometimes the organization has to be reorganized to implement a particular solution, and that may not always be possible. So that becomes an obstacle. That becomes a challenge. Please, you can stop me at any stage and ask me anything that you wish to ask. Don't hesitate. I mean, both of us are willing to answer your questions at any stage of the discussion. So don't let it become a monologue. Please stop me when I'm discussing. The new challenge also is that benchmarks are created, and this requires new leadership roles and functions. So your technology, let us say, is far more accurate than the previous technologies. And now the new accuracy requires new kind of leadership. Let me give you an example. Equistar technology by Amit Bhatnagar. We are incubating him in Gyan, one of the solutions that he's developing for community. And he developed a test in 250 rupees. He gives you about 70 tests in an hour on the site. So he called it Labike, lab on bike. You can see under Equistar, ACCUSTR. And this is a wonderful technology. There are hardly any lab test pathology labs which can give you in 1 hour 40 tests with high degree of accuracy, certified by ICMR and all other institutions. So in such cases, you have now to change the norms. Earlier, if the report was available to you in 1 or 2 days, you were happy. But now this company is making it available in 1 hour. Will you insist that other companies also improve their systems? Or you will say, no. Since we are happy with 1 hour, 1 day, it's all right. But in emergency, in accidents or other kinds of situation, you may need results much earlier than that. So therefore, this is a new benchmark that has been created, and the future solutions will have to be compared with this solution. Policymaker may be willing, sometimes not willing, but it is useful to know that innovations do many times require new benchmarks. And the implication of that for policies are very obvious, and you have understood. Now, one of the challenges which you face as a policymaker, as a solution provider, technology developer, how to tame a lion and make his den a happy zoo. So there are conflicting interests. There are big players, and you are a small player. There are multinational companies. There are established large R&D budget companies, and you are a small scholar from a small lab, developed a solution. You cannot afford to do 10 demonstrations. You will only be able to take up 1 demonstration with your prototype. You have developed a sprayer, or you have developed some new machine. But the bigger companies can say, okay, we can do demonstrations simultaneously in 5 locations if you want, because they have big budget to bear with that. So how do we converge? So one way is join hands if you can't fight them. So if you can't fight with the lions in the system, you collaborate with them. And that's a new model. Today we were talking to a larger company, and let's say we want to create e-commerce platform, but they also want to create, and they will have much bigger budgets, and they can then entice far bigger clients. So is it not useful to then collaborate with them and show our product on their platform, while we can continue to have our own platform too? So many times, instead of just competing with everybody, we also collaborate. And that is the way in which many startups, many young solution providers can succeed. So peaceful coexistence requires exploration of constant or continuous innovation, because as you adjust to other person's constraint, other person also wants to incorporate your solution, and there is a competition, healthy competition, but also collaboration. Now we come to the real challenge. So this happened during COVID. There were many companies, I don't want to take name, which were importing plastics from China and reagents from China and offering a test at a price which indigenous developer of diagnostic kit were not able to afford. For example, Rajasthan state at one time issued a tender for diagnostic kits for COVID at 40 rupees a test. Now, the manufacturing cost was more, but if a startup has to survive, they will have to take some loss, at least clear their inventory, and will have to offer at that time even less than that to get an order. So many times, large corporations using imported stuff compete with indigenous innovators, and the playing field sometimes is biased, and it doesn't help. So how do we deal with that? How can state encourage collaborative behavior to the extent it doesn't become cartelization? Many people who are importing Chinese components were able to offer quicker manufacturing setup because they had to basically assemble a lot rather than developing everything themselves. As some of our startup I met who wanted to import chemicals from Europe had to wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and despite epidemic in the country, the custom will not clear it out. They will charge duty, 50% duty they were asking, despite knowing that this is a life-saving situation and this chemical should be allowed, if possible, duty-free. So there are problems. These are policy issues. And if we do not understand these, and if we don't lobby for changes, we can continue to crib about it. Oh, our solution was not taken up by the government. Our solution was not picked up by the market, without doing something about it. So what I'm encouraging you to think about is that there will be challenges. There will be big companies. There will be pressures from them. There will be lobbies. There will be extra influence that they will have on the policymakers. And yet, as a dedicated scholar, I cannot give up, and we'll have to make effort. Find those people, senior scientists, scholars, public policymakers, media sometime, to write about my challenge so that policymakers come to know. There are a whole range of tools we have to use to influence the policymaker as well as mass opinion. And sometimes you are vulnerable, so you will have to suffer. But this is a part of life that I want to share with you. I don't want to make it look very rosy. So small firms are under too much pressure. Startup, they can't do much R&D because survival takes a lot of energy. You have set up a small enterprise, and what innovations do we need to make it easier to survive? How do we join hand with researchers, with the students? What incentives do we give for distributed value chain? As I was saying other day, and I would like to mention to you that your juniors, not just in your lab, but other labs, can be partner in your research if you have to do some experiment at multiple locations. So let's say you're doing something on air quality and you sample in 5 cities. Now, for you to go to all the 5 places, collect sample and all of that will be very costly. So find out friends. Talk to the friends, class fellows in this class, for example, and tell CMRI fellows from Durgapur, CCMB from Hyderabad, or from Lucknow's NDRI and NBRI or CMAP or different labs, the CDRI. No, that's where you need a knowledge network to reduce the cost of collecting samples and thereby get results in a reasonable time and at the same time reasonable cost without spending too much. So you can overcome the disadvantage of being small by creating a network. So large company has its own offices in every city. They can get samples at their own cost, through themselves, their own staff. But you have a large network. So through a collaborative model, you can actually compete with a large company. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that point clear? Should I stop here for a minute? Is this point become clear? Please switch on your videos. Please switch on. Switch on your videos, please. So any comment on that? Does it make sense to you? Are you going to be just a scholar doing research without ensuring that this research is utilized either by public policymakers or private sector, and the policies which support these transactions are in place? Who will lobby for you? Who will get your water filter around? Who will get your processing machine distributed or procured or subsidized by the state government? Nobody is there to lobby on your behalf. I mean, unfortunately, let me mention it, CSIR doesn't have a group like, in agriculture research, we have extension division, where there's a whole team of scientists whose job is to take solutions from the lab to land and bring knowledge from land to lab. But in industrial research, in CSIR, we don't have such a wing. So who will do this task? We'll have to do it ourselves. Any comment, any question, any observation?
Sir, Tushar here.
Yeah.
Sir, you admit that CSIR don't have a such kind of network. Okay.
Yeah.
When we are means our government is thinking for 2047 as a developed country. So by doing modification in policies, a local layman can directly connect with the CSIR network who wants कि जैसे इंडस्ट्री के लिए क्या है कि एक फील्ड का कोई लॉजिक नहीं है, जब तक क्रॉस डिसिप्लिनरीज इकट्ठा नहीं होंगे तब तक प्रोडक्ट डेवलप नहीं होगा, राइट सर? तो लेमैन को क्या होता है कि जैसे एक सिंपल एग्जांपल है कि यू वांट टू प्रोक्योर गुड कैलिब्रेटेड एंड गुड एक्यूरेसी थर्मोमीटर, ओके, बट उनको मालूम नहीं है कि उनको रिस्ट्रिक्शन है कि भाई मार्केट में जो है वो 2 डिजिट एक्यूरेसी वाले ही मिलते हैं, 3 या 4 डिजिट वाले नहीं मिलते हैं, राइट? तो इट्स अ चैलेंज फॉर आवर साइंटिस्ट कि भाई इसको 1 डिजिट एक्यूरेसी बढ़ा के प्रोडक्ट डिलीवर करना है। तो हमारे क्वेश्चन हो गया, बट ये लेमैन जब तक कनेक्ट नहीं करेगा साइंटिस्ट के साथ तो हमें चैलेंज ही कहाँ से मिलेगा सर? तो इफ लाइक बाय यूजिंग एआई टेक्नोलॉजीज, अगर हम इस चीज को एक स्मूथ बाय मेकिंग अ पॉलिसी डिसीजंस आल्सो अगर स्मूथ बनाए, और आप सोचिए कि 1 लाख आइडियाज आएंगे हमारे पास फॉर डूइंग दिस स्मॉल स्मॉल काइंड ऑफ एक्टिविटीज, एंड जो हमारा स्मॉल एसएमईज या एमएसएमईज है उसको डायरेक्ट बूस्टअप मिलेगा थ्रू द इनोवेशंस and direct consultancy from the scientists.
Tushar, this is a good thought that you are saying. Let us look at this problem in a broader context. Okay, so you have a solution for 3 or 4 digit measurement of temperature. There are industries which need that level of accuracy. A layperson may not need that thermometer, but there are industries which need them. And these industries, whether in furnace or forging or other industries where there is a very precision temperature controls are required, they don't know about your solution. So first question is, how do I communicate to the concerned industry that I have a solution? So I mentioned to CSIR many years ago, and I repeated recently, but you can do it at your level, that you find out where are the clusters located. Let's say ceramic cluster, खुर्जा में भी है, मोरबी में भी है, सुरेंद्रनगर में भी है, राजकोट में भी है. So wherever the ceramic is, supposing your solution is required, this thermometer is required for ceramic industry, certain kind of high quality porcelain for lab use or otherwise, crucibles require very sophisticated temperature control. Let's assume for a minute. So then you can't wait for policymakers to create a highway between you and the industry. You will have to approach them, isn't it? And send them brochures, send them videos of what your solution can do, and hopefully they will then respond. So my question is that the constraint that we have, that we don't have an extension wing, can be overcome by 2 ways. One, we become a little interdisciplinary ourselves, as you very rightly mentioned. That's the need of the hour. And secondly, we use networks. We have a network of labs. There are very few things we do through, say, I'm an NPL person, but CCMB is a biology research lab. But if I request some students there to get some data for you on air quality or on some radiation from the 5G telecom tower or something, I think students will help each other, wouldn't they? So we are not using, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but if some of you have used informal networks of students to collect data from multiple locations, I'd like to hear that. Has anybody done that? And if not, why not? Don't you need multi-location data sometimes?
Yeah, sir. I don't have any means recent examples, or maybe I have never heard कि someone use this network. But yes, this your idea is very good. कि through the networking we can fast moving and having a good approaches with the network by utilizing our CSIR network.
So my suggestion is, one takeaway of the today's class is that policy changes take time, but institutional changes are easier to some extent.
Right.
So if I can start using the network this course is creating, this course is bringing you all together, isn't it? And you are from different labs. So if the alumni of this course can become the basis for creating networks, I think we have broken the ice and we have taken the first step. And when you hear the presentations on 20, 21st, 22nd, you will come to know more detail of whose interest is in which area. And then making network even becomes easier. Supposing you want to measure effect of radiation on microorganisms or on birds. Now, Wildlife Institute people are here. You are, let us say, from NPL for the sake of argument, but you don't have a biology lab. But wildlife people have people who are interested in birds, and both of you are here in this class, and you can work together, isn't it? Anybody from wildlife would like to react to this question? Rohit, अगर एनपीएल को काम करना है रेडिएशन के इफेक्ट का बर्ड्स के ऊपर और एंटीना का इफेक्ट के ऊपर बर्ड के ऊपर, कैन यू वर्क विद देम?
Yes,
Rohit?
sir. It is within the realms of possibility.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is very well possible, and it can actually lead us to even bigger picture. Means maybe the findings will contribute more for the society in that case.
My request is, dear friends, try to build at least some project in this course. I will leave to you entirely. It's a voluntary, it's your decision ultimately. I will respect it, but try to make some interdisciplinary projects. Some Wildlife Institute fellow with somebody from NPL, somebody from CCMB or NCL, somebody. Make a group of interdisciplinary nature because you want to study a phenomena, and phenomena are not sectorally studied. They are studied in an interdisciplinary matter. Nature is not, you can't segment nature into different components so easily. So those of you who are interested in ecosystem level study, you have no choice but to join hands. And this question was asked in the yesterday's class: how can Wildlife Institute people contribute? You can look at the effect of towers on the wildlife. Nobody has studied that. If you do the tagging and movements of the wildlife and you locate the towers and then you see the radiation, nobody has studied it. We don't even have data on what effect tower has on my health. वो भी data नहीं है ना अभी तो हमारे पास. IIT Bombay की एक study है, but there are very few studies in the country which have measured actually what impact different radiations have. Because when you increase the power of the tower to receive the signal, the radiation also increase. That's what I was told in the last class, earlier course by the NPL people. One of the students actually had done a project on 5G radiations. So we can send you that report. So think of this, and I would be very happy. Both of us will be very happy if you can take up some projects of this kind, which are interdisciplinary in nature. Let's go further. So how can state stimulate the innovation culture? So of course, risk capital can be provided, equity investments, viability of the enterprise can be confirmed, grant for research on emergent issues. NIRF has come now, National Research Fund, NRF, and it is supposed to be an upgraded version of SERB and will provide funds even up to 100 crore or 200 crore large ticket investments, so that you can imagine bigger solutions, bigger problems. Policymakers can make it easier for the labs, access to the expertise, public procurement, creating new standards in sync with innovation. Now, this is very important. I'll give you one example. So I was in a conference at Franklin Pierce Law Center many years ago in New Hampshire. in US near Boston. And the research was going on as to how standards can stimulate innovation. So Japanese cars were giving a tough time to American car industry, and they were losing out their market share. So there was an Indian lady who was heading the automobile research council or something of that kind. And she asked the manufacturers, American manufacturers of automobile, what is one thing in which we are better than Japanese? And they discovered that emission control, the pollution control or emission quality, was one area where American technologies were superior. She said, okay, let us create a standard. And this is a WTO compatible policy. If you create a standard for domestic car, the same as for international car, it is WTO compliant, World Trade Organization compliant. So they changed these standards according to what they already had technology for in the domestic industry. And Japanese had to develop new solutions for that. And by the time they developed, American industry was revived. So standards have a very important role to play in promoting certain innovations and giving a competitive advantage for that. And I would strongly urge that whenever you have a solution which requires new standards to be created, must start at first of all, collect the existing standard from Bureau of Indian Standard. And there is a famous dispute going on because there's a friend of ours who has put all these standards in public domain. Because earlier you had to buy these standards. Even now, Government of India has not made it completely free, but your lab can acquire. So if you're developing any product, a pesticide or a machine or whatever, find out what the current standard for that category are. See whether your innovation requires modification in certain features of the standard, certain functions of the standard. Write a letter, and then there are committees for different kinds of technologies by which are there in Bureau of Indian Standard, and these committees will review your submission, and eventually, for all that we know, to promote indigenous innovations, the committee might recommend modification of the standard. Now, for a solution that we have developed in India, and if other countries do not have that solution, we have a competitive advantage now, and we can score in the marketplace. This is a process that some of you will have to learn to participate in. Don't think somebody else will do it for you. Nobody will do it for you. I'll give you two examples from our experience in Honeybee Network and NIF. So there was a motorcycle-based plowing machine which was converted into a modified three-wheel tractor. And we wanted to create new standard because large number of people who manufactured them, they did it, quote unquote, in an illegal manner because no registration was possible since there were no standard by which they could be tested. So standards are required for testing and giving certification. Without certification, registration was not possible. So after a lot of persuasion, at least for certain models, standards were created, and now registration is possible. They are not called tractor, they're called rat-pay machines. And under the category where this was possible, they were added as tools and solution was provided. So in two cases, we got these standards created. For Mitricool also, we got standard created, if I remember right. So please understand that even for grassroots innovations, we have got standards created and modified. In Kenya, there was a tractor that we for some of the innovators that Gyan had supported, Mansubhai Jagani, who got patent in US with the help of Gyan in 2003, exported tractors and with a kit to Kenya under a project that we were facilitating an implementation of. Now, Kenya Bureau of Standard, called as KEBS, wanted to create a standard so that indigenously it could be manufactured and certain import concessions could be given. Import duty concessions could be given. And in 4 or 5 months, we got standard created. In India, it took us several years, more than a decade and a half. But in Kenya, we got in about 4 or 5 months, these standards created. And they called it Shuja. Small tractor, they gave a name of Shuja. So I'm emphasizing that among other things, this is very important. About public procurement, let me mention you have a solution which is government requires for primary health center or requires for electricity department or requires for safety audit of the vehicles. It could be in any area. Now, generally, public policymakers would like to have data of robustness of your solution before they procure it or before they approve it, so that the state governments can put either tenders or they can buy this as per that specification. And for that, you need data generated. Now, this is one area where policy is weak, but you have to then mobilize CSR funds maybe and get data generated of that kind, which will give confidence to the policymaker for procuring your solution. This is a tough problem. I have been writing to the government about this, but you should also start identifying such gaps in the policy and lobby for them. Don't think that you cannot write to the government about what you think should be done in a particular case as a suggestion, as a top suggestion. You can even write a blog on that. You can write a media article on that. Try to mold public opinion on the issues that you feel strongly about. Now, what are the kind of support systems? So GEM portal is there, and ONDC. Are you aware of these two portals?
Yes, sir. I'm aware of GEM portal.
The same
We
here.
use
Can you tell
Yes,
everybody?
sir.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about GEM?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
This is Mukesh Kumar from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, and I tried to purchase many equipments from the GEM. It is not working properly, and there is many difficulties. Sometimes the price is mentioned in the GEM is different than when I contact to the vendors to
Manufacturer
purchase
vendor.
them. So there are many difficulties to handle.
But then
That's
if
it.
you are
Yeah.
required to procure through GEM, how do you solve them?
Sometimes we pending and wait. Then
No.
when
My
it was
suggestion is, we
Yeah.
had this problem. Some vehicles had to be procured and they had to be procured from GEM. So then what was done, because the same problem came, that price quoted on GEM was different than what was mentioned by the dealer. And actually GEM price was higher and dealer was offering at less price. So we had to persuade the company, and company said, look, we can't change the GEM price because we are getting orders at that price. I can't give, but you are right, the dealers can give discount. So they said, all right, we'll give you a quote and we'll give some concessions because you are a public institution, this and that. So somehow it was found. But if you are guided, if you are using public funds, sometimes you're obliged to buy from GEM, isn't it? So this is a constraint, but you have to work with them. What is ONDC? ONDC, anybody? Huh? Anybody has worked with ONDC? Let me show you. And this is a platform that has worked. Where is that?
Sir, what is the difference between the ONDC and GEM?
The difference is that in ONDC, the 1,000 lakhs of sellers and buyers can directly communicate with each other. Private sellers. GEM means you have to be authorized to put your product on GEM. Anamika had tried to put on GEM. It was not
Sir,
easy.
another difference is that ONDC connects platform to platform, and GEM is a platform to connect the institutions or the procurement departments of different institutions to the suppliers. So ONDC, like in ONDC, so if you have a requirement, then you will have to sorry, if you have if you have a requirement, you look at like Amazon or Paytm. Right now, Amazon is not a partner because that will jeopardize their business, but sometimes they feel so. But Paytm and other places, or Paytm Mall, or like Myntra, so you when you are searching, you will be connected to the suppliers, small suppliers who are onboarded there. And they have onboarded many such platforms which are operating at the local level, very small level.
So even a self-help group can sell on the ONDC, and the process of entering on ONDC is much easier. Transaction costs are much lesser.
It's much less. It's about, sometimes it is even near to free. It's not more than like 2 to 3% right now, or maybe 5%. But in Amazon, when you are trying to sell, it is for FMCG, it is around 25%.
So in that sense, it is a very good idea for small scale producers. It can be very useful. And I'm mentioning this because many of you will have to learn about these portals, which are reducing transaction cost of buyer and seller and giving you a lot of choice for doing work. So these are new ways of doing business and procurement of chemicals, equipments, and so on. And the government is facilitating them, and we'll have to deal with them. There is nothing when one can do that. There are also incentives for circular economy that you need. Circular economy, you understand? Anybody will define what is circular economy? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Circular economy means it is in a circle, means whatever is like raw, when it go for product, then application, then again it can be used as a raw material.
So what is circular
circle.
economy is a zero waste economy, theoretically. Theoretically,
Yes,
it's a zero waste economy. And remember that in industrial ecology, we define waste as a product for which use has not yet been found. So for example, construction waste. Many of you might be familiar that construction waste today goes into the so-called landfill, isn't it? Which is a terrible situation because a lot of our rivers, streams, tributaries of the river and lakes are getting filled up. And therefore, the water storage capacity of our lakes is going down, rivers are drying up, and so many problems. Now, if you develop a technology which can separate bricks from the concrete or the cement that is attached to them, then these bricks can be reused. Bricks' life is much longer. But because in the process of taking out the building, these get jumbled up, they get joined with each other because of the concrete, they are not reusable. So circular economy will require us to do research on such materials, such processes, such machines, which will help make waste repurposable, reusable, rejuvenatable, whatever we can do with that. That's what. So it's important that, I remember 2 years ago in first batch, not the second one, yours is third one, if I remember right, or maybe fourth. There was a question I asked, how many of you have clear policies and mechanisms for disposing lab waste? Shekhar was DG at that time. And the solution that I found, and maybe you are even today, do all your labs have proper waste disposal in the lab? Or you put it in the sink, all kind of chemicals?
Hello, sir.
We
have, sir.
Sir, this is very serious problem in the universities. Having the class B or C, they don't have such facilities, and dumping so many chemicals and nanoparticles, it is very dangerous for the drinking water and for many things.
Yes. So my suggestion is, yeah, go ahead.
When I discuss my colleagues, they are not bothering.
So I'm just giving you this example because when we talk about, if I'm teaching circular economy and I'm wanting that we should do our technology should be amenable to circular economy principle, because Government of India has given a commitment at COP28 about how much of renewable energy we will use, how much of carbon footprint we'll bring down. And in fact, we have very large number of airports which are now completely run on renewable energy. They don't use hydel or thermal power at all, or nuclear power at all. So in some sense, we are moving towards circular economy. We are moving towards low energy intensive technology solutions of infrastructure. But the problem that you just mentioned require a consideration, and I would suggest some of you should write and discuss with your lab directors or your research directors and request them that, look, sir, we are not solving our problem. We are making, you must have read recent news 2 days back in Times of India about AMR, how much the resistance of the microbial cultures to the antibiotics has increased so much. Part of it may also be because we are releasing so many of them, such chemicals to our system, that our organisms are getting adapted to them. And therefore, when they infect us, they don't respond. There were about 20% cases in Gujarat. That is what, if I remember rightly, 20 or 26%, who were affected by organisms that were resistant to the strongest antibiotic. And one of the comments that one expert made was that erythromycin and other such antibiotics were used for even low level of infections and causes. So circular economy is not just what we do with our waste, but also what waste does to our environment and our health and all of that, which I would request some of you to look into more carefully. Now we come to how do we use... Yes, go ahead.
Sir, can I add one thing? So it's like when we talk about circular economy, so it's like most of the time it is polythene and plastics, polymers, which make a lot of noise in this field, and a lot of people are talking about that. But somewhere under this, I feel that when we look into the reason why it is like polymer is now creating so much problem, I feel it's chemical. Definitely, it's a chemical structure. They are they stay in the environment for long. But at the same time, by the rate it started, everyone started buying this things. So that may also contribute at some extent, because now if we look at the textiles and the clothes, which we feel they are like environment friendly, but the way everyone started buying due to this online platforms available, and maybe like we are now economically getting more, we are more capable of. So if with the speed and rate we will start buying clothes, and then I feel in future it should not happen that this will again be a problem after like everybody is more concerned about polymer, but in hidden this thing, under that polymer this thing, nobody noticed that textile and other thing, if we just keep buying and it will grow with the speed where it is going, may again lead a problem in future.
So Purvi, your point is very valid. And have you heard about Goonj?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have heard about Goonj.
So Goonj, what it does, let's say if you mobilize a group in your lab, where are you from, Purvi?
Sir, CSIR NCL.
NCL, okay. Supposing you mobilize your friend that, look, we don't want to waste our clothes just as a wastage in the dustbin. Let's collect all of them and ask Goonj to collect them and refurbish them, use them for making handbags, school bags, because they sterilize all the waste cloth that they collect from different people. They sterilize them and then rework them for making goods which people can use. They also have a cloth for work program. So in some of the villages, they will give repurposed clothes, high quality one, absolutely safe and sterilized, to people for making bridges, roads, and so on. So one way is that we start adopting a new lifestyle where instead of throwing away these things, either we give away to people who need them, or invite such NGOs who can collect it. We can reduce their transaction costs by collecting large amount of such clothes in one place, and then let them come and collect it and use it the way they would like to. So there are many ways in which one can do. You might have seen there are some cities which have a new initiative. There is near IMA campus gate, some people had tried that. So there is a small kind of hangers on the wall where you can hang any cloth that you want to give away. you are tired of it, or you have worn it many times, or you don't want to use it anymore, or it is not fitting your body properly. And somebody who needs it will take it away from there. No question asked about who is putting it, no question asked about who takes it. So there are such platforms or such initiatives emerging in different cities, and I think we should take more steps of this kind so that wastage can be eliminated and goods can be repurposed or reused by those who need them. So Purvi,
in Chandigarh, sir, we have something like that called Neki Ki Diwar.
Neki ki Diwar, Neki ka Pitara, Neki ki Diwar.
Humanity wall.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Same thing I meant. And this is a good idea. You can leave things that you don't need, and somebody can pick it up from there. And no question asked, no problem, no conflict, very amiable, and that's fine. So yes, so we need to, but your point is valid that we should not focus only on plastics and other such polymers, but also look at daily needs that we have. And people are now consuming more, they're buying more than what they need. And some of my friends complain that I try to I use old clothes too long. But my feeling is that so long as you can use them and they are not totally torn, what's the harm? It at least reduces our imprint on the environment. All right, now let's come to the policy changes for inclusive innovations. What are the processes? So one of the things that we need to do is need gap analysis. So find out what the need is and what the current policies are meeting, and then we can see where there is a gap. We can also look at target groups which have not been served at all. So I will give you an example. There was a student, Atul, some years ago. He had to repeat one term for some reason. So he was slightly challenged in one leg of his body. He used to limp. At that time in IMA, we did not have many, please. We did not have many, please switch off your mic. We did not have many ramps, only a few. So I said, why don't you do that service and get it done? So he went to the administration with little nudge. Administration agreed. And he got single-handedly, he got our campus disabled, enabled, I would say to 85% extent, if not 100%. And this is a good step. So there's a constituency which has not been served properly, and you find a gap. And for that you change the policy of your institution, not necessarily the whole country says every public building should be disabled enabled. That's the law of the land. Anywhere there's an interface with the common people, any third party, it should be disabled enabled. That's the law of the land. But many institutions have not cared to do that. So that's another area where we can bridge the policy and implementation gap, identify the gap, and then take initiative. Don't hope or don't wait for somebody else to take initiative for solving all the problems that we have around us, whether for our own innovation or somebody else's solution. The landscape analysis we can do, stakeholder analysis we can do, who are the people involved in a particular change and who are within my reach, whom I can influence, who are the ones who I can pressurize or persuade to change their practices, and who are the ones that I have to just live with. So that can be another way in which stakeholder analysis can help us to look at the implementation process better. There are also examples where micro-level solutions can become macro-level targets. So when we were in a Shodh Yatra in Valley of Flowers in Uttarakhand, we did not find a single hydro turbine all along the river when we crossed it and climbed up to the valley. So and also wherever we found rhododendrons or juice, it was always in either Pepsi bottle or Coca-Cola bottle, reused rather than branded properly. So when we met the chief minister at that time, Mr. Nishank was chief minister, and we mentioned to him that, look, the whole class was there with me and students were there, and we gave him many suggestions, one of which was that you should ensure that so many tourists who come to your city, your state, don't even consume your own product in branded or at least properly labeled bottle rather than reused bottle of large companies. That didn't look nice. And similarly, we also mentioned that there should be more hydro turbines so that people who live along the river don't get power because they are in the upper reaches and the power goes to the downstream, not the upper stream. So catchment area of power plants often do not get enough power. That's a paradox. And they therefore remain less developed. So hydro turbines are an off-grid solution. And we need to have a larger network of off-grid solutions for inclusivity. So some of you who are working on power solutions, energy generation solutions, might like to look up the policy for hydro turbines, then look at the incentives for hydro turbines, then look at the solutions that you have with hydro turbines. Then you can eventually create a system by which such turbines will become more pervasive. And if you have developed a turbine, then that will find much more wider application. Workshop on scaling pathways, portfolio versus component approach. Now, this is a very tough issue. Even UNDP is struggling with this, that very often we take a component approach. We work on one problem. Let's say I'm working on fertilizer. Fertilizer is one component of the farming system. Farmer has a portfolio of crops on different plots, soils of different fertility, irrigation source for some plot but not others. And within that mix or milieu of different factors, the farmer has to take a decision about how to allocate the 100 rupees in fertilizer, in irrigation, in pesticide, in labor, etc. So there's a whole portfolio of choices available, and he needs to know, he doesn't often know, but he needs to know what is the return of that, how much money of that 100 I should spend on which component, such that my portfolio efficiency goes up, not just the component efficiency. Now, this requires a different kind of analysis. Some of you who are interested in working out the portfolio implication of your technology may like to study how the solution that you're giving will influence the other choices of the user, maybe industrial user or household user or a community level user or a urban user. It doesn't matter who the user is, but user has many choices and many constraints. A portfolio of choices of the user, when taken into account, and you embed your solution in that portfolio, there are good chances that technology will be adopted. But if you take a component approach, then there are good chances that it may not be adopted. So policy for piggybacking the solution through existing institutions, this is very important. So in many African countries, they found that delivering, let us say, the textbooks to children was very difficult. So then they found out which were the products that were reaching the farthest corners, and they found some of the beverages, some of the grocery items. For example, in our country, Amul is one area, one company, cooperative sector company, which reaches the farthest corners in the country. This is, you may not know, but Amul is a bigger brand than Tata and Reliance. Is one of the most successful, some 70 to 80,000 crore brand. So can Amul vehicles carry books to the regions where other delivery systems don't reach or work? That is a kind of model which is piggybacking. That means you piggyback on existing supplier and embed your solution, embed your product in that system. So once Nirma owner and a Syntex owner, Syntex, you know those tanks, water overhead tank that they make, they were both discussing. And Nirma fellow, Mr. Karsan Bhai said, look, I have to deliver detergent and you deliver tanks. Your tanks go empty and my detergents have weight but have low volume. Can we combine our supply chains? So in your tank, I put my detergent bags and the same space, same one truck now will carry more load and both of us will save money. I will share the cost so that your cost goes down and my cost goes down. That is a kind of a synergistic piggybacking, that one supply chain of Syntex tank, for example, in this case, was being supplemented by another supply chain. Now, these questions you may not face right away, but what I'm trying to do is when you come into a policy-making situation, and many of you will come to that situation sooner than later, you can see how supply chains can be merged. Logistics is a very important part of future transformation of our society, any society. And therefore, being aware of how logistic chains work and how can we piggyback on existing chains is an important part of solution. Other day I was talking to InSpace, which is a platform for incubating space-based startups. And I mentioned one other thing there because in 2008-9, I had gone to Florida, where launch station is there for Apollo missions that US had. And there they would set up an accelerator to find solutions of space technology for terrestrial application and terrestrial solutions for space application. So one of the solutions was that astronaut, when they have to pass urine, it passes through a tube which filters it, and the fresh water comes on the surface, which is collected by another tube. Now, the first conference of launch, accelerator launch.org, was on water. Then I was involved as an expert. There was an arrangement, they will go through different desks. There were 5 desks of experts, and every startup or entrepreneur or innovator went through the 5 tables one by one. The reason I'm saying this is that that one example that we thought, there was a person who did water quality analysis at very low cost. So we asked, supposing farmers or villagers put a stamp on a postcard with the water of the well that they have. So there are 4 wells, and they put either 4 stamps or they've sent 4 postcards with each well water used for affixing the stamp. Can your technology analyze the quality of the water and the organisms in it by analyzing the content, the water which has been used for sticking the stamp? Now, if this was possible, then we will be able to test the water quality of 650,000 villages in one go. Now, this looks like utopian, but then when we try to see the gap, one of the gap we have, that even today, after so many years of independence, we have not been able to provide the quality information for each well in the part of our rural countryside where wells are still used as a source of water. Though, and in many places there are water supply system, but many villages still use the open wells. So therefore, we need to see how postal department, we have about 250 lakhs post offices for 650 lakh villages. Every 3 or 4 villages have one post office. Can we use postal network? Some of you may not know that postal network is also used now to deliver products. Chota Cool, small refrigerator kind of system that Godrej had developed, they marketed through postal department. The railways, about 25 crore people travel every day. 25 million people travel, 2.5 crore people travel every day by trains. So can we use trains to transmit some of your DIY solutions? Whether vegetables should be cut before should be washed before cutting or should be washed after cutting? The answer is obvious. Should be washed before cutting, because if you wash them after cutting, naturally the free amino acids will be lost. Now, many people don't know. I don't know whether any one of you wash the vegetables after cutting. Anybody does that? Or everybody is wise in our class? Be honest.
Many people do that.
So you understand the point? That if we do that, we are losing nutrition. So let's say I have 10 rupees which I am spending on vegetable, and of which I have lost already 2.5 rupees worth of nutrition by washing the vegetable after cutting. Now, these are public health messages, nutrition messages. You are all scholars. You have developed some insights. Why wouldn't you write to the railways? Why don't you write to the transport office, state transport corporation? Why don't you write to the postal service? Why wouldn't you write to the All India Radio or other media channels that, look, these are the 10 lessons that we have developed from our research in lab, and we would like you to consider spreading them in your programs so that more and more people benefit from our research. What I'm saying is, policy is not just what government makes or institute make. Policy is also what you make, your policy as a scholar of solving problems in a manner that society benefits. So let us, I have mentioned some of the examples of each of the case, policy and landscape analysis. I have mentioned already this example. Railways around the contest of unequal height of platform at different stations. This was one of the SDG goals for participative development. I was trying to map different solutions to different SDGs. So, I mean, there are so many problems the railways have. When you board a train and you have problem in climbing the height of the wagon of the compartment, do you get ramp everywhere? Anybody has used ramp for parents or otherwise? How many of you used ramps for people who are on wheelchair at railway station? Anybody needed that? Nobody? Nobody? All of you travel by air now? Not hearing anything. Have you ever needed a ramp, temporary ramp for boarding a train for your parents or grandparents or anybody? And did you get it or when you wanted to have? जवाब नहीं मिल रहा किसी से भाई. Buggies are there. Buggies will take you from one place to another, Rohit. But my question was,
sir, just a couple of days back or somewhere newspaper, we have seen that people have been using some hydraulic things to push the wheelchair into the compartment.
It will be nice for you to do, those of you who are into logistics, those of you who are into mechanical solutions. My point was, look at how can we overcome the gaps in the public infrastructure, public problems? Can our discipline, our skills be used? This was a solution where we were trying to look at SDG 7, 10, and 1, where how do we popularize off-grid solutions? So there was a innovator, Mushtaq Ahmad and Mehtar Hussain in Assam, who used a windmill to run a hand pump to irrigate a small paddy field. Now, you will agree that it will take much longer time than an engine. But when we analyzed that solution, we realized two things. That plants need moisture, not water, not flood water. So if irrigation is slow, you lose less nutrients, less leaching of nutrients, and the crop will benefit because overflooding actually causes loss of productivity. Second thing, that hand pump will have single valve, so water will come in spurts, not continuous. Doesn't matter. It doesn't cost anything. So we discovered that the principle underlying this system was slow irrigation versus fast irrigation. Those of you who are in water management may never have been taught about the merit of slow irrigation versus fast irrigation, but it makes all the difference. So many times we look at the principles underlying the innovation and then see how those principles can be scaled up rather than the solution itself. And this is a very important lesson that I would like you to keep in mind when you want to look at how diffusion takes place, what kind of policies we generate for diffusion. Co-creation of solution, you will know many times how I've given you that example of how the conference call function of the feature phone was used by one of the teachers for teaching children. Innovations in the service and sectoral training, another important ways in which we can do that. I'll stop here before we go further and look at how what are the different drivers for policies. I will let you ask questions that you wish to ask about whether but one way is that we take one of the solution and then look at the 360-degree analysis of policies and institutions that need to be studied to make that solution reach the people for whom it is intended. I mean, you can select the solution and we will then discuss it. All of us together will discuss how to improve its outreach. Would you suggest something which you think has mass application, but you have been facing problem in its dissemination, or its procurement by government, or its outreach? Anybody would like to make give an example from your lab? It need not be your own solution, but somebody else's solution, but that you are personally very familiar with. Anybody? Any example that you suggest, which we can take up? Any example that you would like me to take up? Then we can go through that entire analysis of the...
Sir, as a general this thing, I feel like nowadays it's like most of the time we see in city and every places is like buildings only are coming up. Means independent houses तो बहुत कम बन रहे हैं. So I always was thinking that if it is like if everyone is staying in a building, so why do we need means like I have seen in the Germany also when I visited my sister's thing. So they have a washing machine and all these things. Even in our now big this ICER and all, they also have. So this kind of thing, if we can have like with the garage and all, if we have some space in a building like this also, where the common this kind of thing, some few stuff, then I feel it can actually save a lot of energy and maintenance, and so you just can go and use that. In fact, many times I feel, as maybe I'm lazy in cooking or what, but I feel that buildings where the societies and are there, they can maybe initiate a common cooking also, where when we go for office and even kids, we just go and pick instead of cooking separately, because when you buy in a bulk, it's always you can buy better thing, and cost wise also it won't be that very costly, and maintenance and all the ways. So
although this is this is a general point, but I would say that shared resources, shared economy, it is called as part of shared economy. Today, the sustainability discussion is full of shared economy. That is, how can we pool our needs and meet them at much lesser cost if we were to meet them individually compared to when we meet them collectively. So what you're suggesting is common facilities, which people can then book at different times and use them, isn't it? That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir. Means it's like a.
But that's a very valid point. That's a very valid point. It's a very valid point. In times to come, we wouldn't have even space for everybody to be able to afford individual facilities. So learning to cooperate, learning to share, managing common property facilities is the need of the hour. And I completely agree with you. But I will still like to focus on some solutions that you have, which you are, developed in your lab, which you are finding difficulty in reaching out. Anybody? Then we can look at the policy and other implications around that solution, and then come back to a few more points that I'll share with you. Anybody can come up with a solution that you have, either your lab developed in the recent past, last 2-3 years, but it's not getting traction in the marketplace or in the social space. And you feel that, look, all the effort made in developing that solution are not bearing fruit. Anybody? Did you get the point, what I'm saying? We are looking for solutions that have wider application developed in the lab around you, but which have not yet reached large number of people because of various obstacles that you have faced. And we'll try to see whether there are creative ways in which public policy as it exists or with modification can help its outreach.
Sir, in CSIR lab, what I know is now, like we initiated this online EMI system now, sir. But now it's like not functional anymore. It looks like now again we are back to fill all the forms. There was one system where we can online do everything, EMI system, but now it's like no more functioning. Now again we have to do all the paper things and go to.
Sir, you are muted.
Which context are you saying you have to fill up all the forms? I couldn't follow. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Sir, it's like online we can fill everything like EL, PL, anything you want, official form. But now it's not working. It's like again we have to go to department.
Maybe what you are saying is, but we will avoid internal problems of the lab. Although what it means is that the ERP solution, is not at this moment working well. So maybe software problems which they will have to fix. That it's a simple ERP problem. That online, if you put information, it should move to the relevant department and action should come back to you. That is what a good ERP solution does. But maybe in your place, this is not working as yet. So that's all right. But let us focus on some technological solution that you have developed for external clients, industrial or people, doesn't matter. We will take a specific case. I'll give you one example. Maybe it will make it clear to you. Indian Institute of Petroleum, when Anjan Ray was director, he retired recently. He was telling me about this. They developed a new kind of Khansari making system. I mean, in the sense that they could save a lot of fuel. They made a Khansari making system where they could save 30% or 40% energy, but they only installed 3 units, and the Khansari units are in thousands. So in UP, the diffusion did not take place as much as should have taken place quite a few years ago. Now, my point is that if there is such a solution that requires larger scale application, one way would be that if you find out when the Khansari unit, Association of Khansari Units, is going to have a conference or a meeting, and there you present your solution so that you can reach simultaneously hundreds of thousands of people. That's one possibility. The second possibility is that you ask the sugarcane department or sugar department or civil supplies department or energy department that we can save so much energy for the state if every Khansari unit adopts our technology, and this is what we have done. Can you install one of it in different clusters so that people can see how effective it is and then use? Some mechanism will have to be found. We can't just say that the solution is not going ahead and we will keep waiting for some miracle to happen that it goes. That's the only point I'm trying to say, that how do we create demand for our solution such that it reaches the people and the sectors who need it. So is there any other example that which you know personally, and you would like to discuss how can we increase its output? What kind of policy and institutional change we think about by which the solution can be outreach? Please switch on your videos. When I'm talking, I would like all of you to switch on your videos. Manisha, Tushar, Sambhaji, Deepali, Divya, please switch on your videos. Monica, Ranu, Shobit, please switch on. Shobit, Srijit, Praveen Raj, Nidhi Gupta, Chandana, Manpreet, please switch on your videos. Please switch on your videos. Please switch on your videos. Tufail, Vishal Bora, please switch on your videos. Rupal, Pragya, Nidhi, Tanya, Sagar, please switch on your videos. I'm randomly taking some names. Doesn't mean that only they have to open. All of you have to switch on your videos. Please, Sumit, Shangamla, Shania. If you don't switch on, I will just then remove you from the class. Today is the last class. I didn't want to do that, but I think we have to have a basic protocol of communicating with each other. And if you are not going to switch on your videos, unless you have a problem, we'll remove. And I would not mind if we have only 1/3 of the class left. But let us talk to those who are interested in learning, after all, isn't it? Tanu, Rumesa, Mohini, Vikas, Kritika, Saroj, Sagar. Please switch on your videos. Suraj, Divya Malik, you have not switched on. I took your name 2 times. Ankita, Nidhi Sharma, Reshma, Shabaz, Charanya, Anjali, Meenakshi, Abhishek Barua. This is very depressing. So many of you have not switched on your video despite my calling you. What are you doing? Aarti, IICT, Ankita, Haritha, Srija, IICB, नरेश, लास्ट क्लास है आप लोग बस अभी देखो अभी सिर्फ 20 मिनट बचे हैं हमारे पास and for 20 minutes if you cannot I mean if you don't find it interesting we can close the class right away, so there is no point in our discussing it further if it is not interesting now. Habibullah, आपको तो प्रॉब्लम थे आपका वीडियो में, आपने लिखा था नहीं बट आपने लेट ज्वाइन किया था, तो अभी तो अपना वीडियो ऑन करो अभी बोला.
Sir, this is Dinesh sir. I am unable to start my video. Your video
All
stopped.
right. Okay, fine. Others can. Ravi Kishore, Krishna, Saloni, Habibullah, Triple IM. Please, when I name a person, please other people from that institute should call each other and tell them to wake up. Kripa Drishti, Anchal Sharma, Sajjad, Vishwajit, Akshay, Nurina, Isha, CSIO. Somebody from CSIO, please call up your friends. Farnaz, I have called you 2 times, 3 times. Saloni is okay. Anchal, Kripa, I understand. Sajjad, Isha, Atmaja. Not very nice to see so many of you not switching on your videos. 1/3 of the class is very active. That's very nice. At least maybe 40%. But 50% have switched off their mind, I think. It's not a nice way of, I mean, if this is your way of giving feedback to me, I'm sorry about that. I thought we were discussing something very interesting and meaningful, but maybe. So if you want to take up your example, otherwise, yes, Ramesh, please go ahead. Ramesh, you wanted to say something? Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Very good evening to you and all the participants. Sir, today is the last class and probably I am the oldest student in this class. Sir, I am working as Inspector General of Forest in the Ministry of Environment and Forest.
Oh.
And I belong to 1996 batch of Indian Forest Service, sir. Very late I joined WIXR program for PhD, sir. And I wanted to tell the participants that when I joined my service way back in 1996, then also I had the opportunity to listen you in those early days of my career.
Oh.
And I have seen you, and I have heard you in various stages of my life and my career. And even I had interacted when I was working as Joint Development Commissioner in the Ministry of Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises. So many of the students are coming from academic backgrounds or scientific field. But fortunately, I had been a professional who had been interacting and seeing you and listening you for last 25 years. And it has been a privilege. I'm not getting the...
No, I understand your sentiments.
And I had the privilege of knowing you, sir, and seeing your undaunted spirit to propagate, to teach, to encourage people for innovation, Navachar, and getting it embedded in the society, getting it implemented in policy, getting an ecosystem of innovation established in the country in last more than 2 decades. So, sir, I just wanted to congratulate you for your very long, continuous effort for teaching people about the entire knowledge and trying to create an ecosystem in the country which requires it most. So I just wanted to thank on behalf of all of us, especially when 1/3 of us have joined and you are so desperate to see that how people are responding. I thought that this is the right time to pay my gratitude to you and to make you surprised. So it has been great listening for last. And you will be surprised to know, sir, that I didn't intervene, but in most of the classes I was present and I was listening you, even in my office hours when I was in the ministry.
Thank you so much, Ramesh, and I appreciate your feeling. But at the same time, you have made me realize that if one has to wait for 25 years to find the value of what I'm saying, then it is not a good feeling.
No, sir,
not a good
not
feeling
that.
for myself. I teach my students in IMA, I and Anamika teach a course together, and I teach another course on leadership and on creativity, innovation, knowledge network, and entrepreneurship for senior students, PGPX program. 21st, the classes are starting. And I would not like even one student not to have pay attention to what we are discussing in the class, because I believe intensity of learning should be mutual.
Very true, sir.
But if sometime, as it appears today, that I have failed in sustaining the interest of everybody, it's a feedback, and I take it as very constructively, that maybe a monologue sometimes can switch off the mind of young learners. And that's the reason I stopped in between. I said, doesn't matter whether all the content is delivered or not, but what is important is that we take example that you know of and then translate that example into the concept that we have discussed today or so far in the course. But it's all right. I mean, it doesn't matter. Let me try to summarize. Anamika, you can join whenever you want to add some points, but let me use the time to summarize what we have done in this course. So we began by talking about how innovations can be developed by anyone and everyone, anywhere and everywhere. And we looked at the examples, but also the process by which people solve problems through their own genius. And if people with much less qualification than us can solve problems, why can't we do that? So idea is to become more optimistic, more hopeful, and also more intensely engaged with the unmet needs of our society. That was the purpose. There are a lot of problems that our society has still, and we haven't found solutions to them. The second goal of the course that we tried to pursue in this course so far was, how do we collaborate? We don't focus only on competitive advantage, we also focus on collaborative advantage. And when we discussed different models of network entrepreneurship, we were trying to see how the entrepreneurs or the innovators can join hand. And today also I mentioned that if you want to challenge, develop bigger challenges in your research, and for that, you can't have resources all the time. How do we generate resources? By networking. And Honeybee Network is entirely an informal network for the last 35 years. And we could influence the mindset in large number of countries, not just in our country. I mean, there was no template when we created NIF, National Innovation Foundation, as I told you in one of the classes. There was no template. There was no framework. We invented it from zero. And today other countries are discussing, including US, that they should also have an innovation foundation. And Malaysia developed later on, Indonesia developed, Philippines is trying to develop. So what I'm saying is that it is possible for us to conceive of a bigger challenge, which influences the whole country, and then use our skill, even as an individual, by mobilizing the network support to bring a major change. There are many things that we could do in this process. Who would have imagined that innovators will be able to stay at President of India's house? But we could. When Mr. Pranab Mukherjee was president, when Dr. Kalam was president, we started the Presidential Award. When Mrs. Pratibha Patil was president, we started the exhibition at Rashtrapati Bhavan. When Dr. Shri Pranab Mukherjee was president, we started the Festival of Innovation. And when Shri Kovindji was president, we started Festival of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Each president has helped us to achieve next level of inclusivity and celebration of the creativity. And we got many of you at the President of India's house, when we tried to bring the best of the modern science with the best of the grassroots innovations. So it is not that we only had one. Some of you could not join the People Festival of Innovation that we had in Delhi at IISc from 28th November to 2nd December. There were 50 deep tech technologies and 50 grassroots innovations together, exchanging, rubbing shoulders and learning from each other. And we had a special session for innovation from Northeast and Jammu Kashmir. And we had such people from Northeast in Meghalaya, in Sikkim, Nagaland, Kashmir, from UT of JNK, who you would not believe that in such conditions they could develop such wonderful solutions in machinery, in hydro turbine, and how we looked at how the empathetic public servants can help in reducing transition cost and solving their problem. We also looked at in this course about the way bridges can be built between formal and informal science. We took the example of Professor Yu Tu, Chinese Nobel laureate, who also worked on the same plant that our labs worked, but Nobel Prize went to her because she could stabilize the artemisinin in our body by using a 700-year-old manuscript knowledge of the society, which was to use cold water extract instead of hot water extract. And that made all the difference to the molecule and its behavior in the body of a malaria patient. So how we can use people's knowledge to do world-class research, outstanding research, is what we were trying to emphasize. And our effort was in this course that we plug in both limitations but also opportunities. So when Anamika reminded me for that appreciative, influencing, and manipulable segment of the three circle of the environment of policy environment, the idea was that we should not feel handicapped that we can't change everything. Nobody can change everything. Mr. Rameshji will tell you that, having been in bureaucracy for such a long time, there are limits to what we can influence. There's a limit to what we can manipulate or change. And within those limits, we have to find room for maneuver. And we should, and we have found room for maneuver. So therefore, when this course was designed, the purpose was to encourage you to think of challenges bigger than what our competence and capacity is. Please remember that. When challenges are bigger than our competence and capacity, we learn, we grow. But when challenge is less than our competence and capacity, we do injustice to our potential, because problem is smaller than what I could have solved. Never, never, never pick up a problem that is solvable easily, because then you are not challenging yourself. Be it a policy problem, be it an institutional problem, challenge it. Take a problem which is far bigger than your competence and capacity. Competence, knowledge, capacity, network. And you can overcome both the things. And that's what I would wish. I gave you an example from a student of MIT who published in Nature a paper based on a simple truth that a pine tree has a phloem and xylem. And if you use that wood as a water filter, The natural capillaries of that even control bacteria and viruses. Can you imagine? Mr. Ramesh, you will appreciate that, how a simple property of a pine wood was used by inserting it in a tube and letting the water pass through. A very low cost, high quality, high impact water filtering solution. So you can have high quality publications, high quality research, and low cost solutions. These are reconcilable. I don't want you to believe that when we work on problems that are societal, it's a low end of the scientific spectrum. We will only get low-hanging fruit. It is not true. I will be very happy if any one of you is still unconvinced to share more papers to you, where how I gave you example today of the Russian scientist in 1900 who found that the yogurt in Bulgaria had Lactobacillus bulgarinus, which contributed to the immunity and the longer life, because people in Bulgaria live long. And he wanted to know why, what was the factor contributing to that. And he got a Nobel Prize for various factors that contribute to autoimmune system. So please appreciate that good science is completely compatible with mass application or good application. And the goal of publishing good articles, good journal articles, is not incompatible with doing research, which also goes to society at large. I hope that this is the lesson that will stay with you. And I also hope that your projects will reflect the reality. One of you asked a question yesterday. I should answer that to the whole class. One of you sent a message to me whether you can do individual project. And of course you can. There is no restriction. You can do projects across institutions. You can do projects alone. You can do projects in group, ideally of 5. But if there's 1 or 2 exceptions, you want to add 1 or 2, I won't mind that. We won't mind that. I and Anamika will be happy. But my suggestion will be, take up a challenge of societal application, which is beyond what you already are doing, your lab is already doing. Don't take up research that already you are doing. Then there is no complementarity, no additional value that this course is adding. So take up a problem which extends the frontier of our research a little farther than where we are today. Any questions now about the projects or the course in general? We will take 5 minutes and then wrap up. Anamika, do you want to add anything?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Swapna.
Sir, I'm Swapna from CSR CSIO. Sir, I just wanted to confirm that we have to do one presentation on the proposal that we are planning of the project, and one after a report after doing the experiments, right?
Correct. Very
These
true.
2 things.
Very true. And as I said earlier, I'll repeat today, in case after presenting the proposal, you want to make some changes, you are welcome to do that.
Yes, okay.
So don't feel inhibited that humne to ye kaha tha, now I'm not finding it challenging enough. Maybe I should modify or something. Please do. But within a reasonable time. Don't tell me after 3 months that you have changed the problem. Change it within a few weeks, couple of weeks maybe, maximum.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, any other?
Hello, sir. This is Nidhi Sharma from IICT.
Yes,
I just had one question actually. Is that okay if we individually or do we have to stick to the groups that are assigned to us?
No. I'm repeating that point. You are welcome to do it alone. I should also add that if any one of you wish to take some knowledge from Baramulla or West Sikkim or Nagaland or elsewhere for validation or valorization in your project, do send a message to either me or Anamika or both of us, and we will send you a listing of ideas that you can take up. We'll also get you the material for that, and you can find applications for that. So feel free, if you are from chemistry, microbiology, biotechnology background, or even for that matter, forestry, and you want to take up some biodiversity-based knowledge system to which you want to add value, by all means do that. If you take up abundant or abundant resources, bioresources, you can ensure that poor will not be excluded. If it is abundant, there is no queue, there is no exclusion. If it is abundant, again, there is no queue, there is no exclusion. I gave you example of the corn silk. Some of you may remember. Do you remember that? Anybody remember that example? What did I mention about corn silk? Anybody know? Let me see whether you remember what I have done. We have done in this class. Nobody remembers? Corn silk is wasted, you know. When you take a bhutta, आप उसको छीलते हैं तो वो जो बाल होते हैं उनको फेंक देते हैं ना.
Sir, I think you told about the manufacturing of bags and all from that silk.
नहीं, मैंने कुछ और हाई वैल्यू प्रोडक्ट बताया था. सोचो, याद करो. भूल गए? कोई भी याद नहीं, किसी को भी याद नहीं है. ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है?
Sir, it is good for some digestion or something.
नहीं. Let me take one more minute to push you harder to recall. I can give a clue. It is more for either women or elderly people. Now think of which problem will address. Thoda socho. And I mentioned that I take tea of this silk every day morning. Didn't I mention? I mentioned. It's very good for prostate and UTI, among other things. All right? You can always search on the net later on. But my point is, it is being thrown away. It is abundant resource, isn't it? If you go to maize growing regions where corn is shelled, after hulling is done, the grain corn is taken out, the silk is thrown away. गांव के बाहर पड़ी होती है. When we had Shodh Yatra in Balia to Gazipur, we found a lot of places where it was thrown away. But it is very valuable. So your research can characterize such materials and develop very many useful things out of them. Yes, I take it tea. I mix it with my tea of what you call blue pea flower. पर अपराजिता के फूल की चाय पीता हूँ सुबह में, नीले रंग की चाय, और उसमें ये डाल देता हूँ थोड़ा सा. So I take it every day in the morning. After taking normal cup, then I take second cup.
Sir, from it may purchase?
Huh?
That blue color tea, from where it may purchase, sir?
Well, it's very easy. I can send you the seedling, plant. I can send you the seed also. You can grow creeper even in your hostel. It is so easy to grow. It's such a sturdy plant. It grows everywhere practically, and even under shade. And you will start growing it and start getting flowers in about 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks maybe. This is the time of flowering. So if you want seed, I'll send you the seed. Just write to me, send your address, and I'll send you.
Sir, I'm from CBRI Roorkee. Myself Gayatri, and I'm from CBRI Roorkee, sir.
Just send me your mail to me. I'll send you the seed. I'll send you the seed.
Sure,
your
sir.
Director had come along with some 4 scientists for a problem that we are facing in Kharaghoda salt workers. You had CBRI has developed some tents, and we were trying to develop some. We have not yet received.
That was for salt workers. It's for salt workers.
Yes. So we are working with them. We wanted that they are poorest people in our country. So any solution for them is most. Yes.
And sir, then now the technology of that tents have been transferred to industries also.
But we need to have, some testing ground for these salt workers in, saline region of Kharaghoda. That's what you remind them. Remind your director that I'm waiting for him.
Yes, sir.
I've known him for a long time, so I'm sure he will remember. Now, any other comment?
So sir, please, what's the name of that plant?
Which one?
Sir, blue tea.
Blue pea flower is Aparajita. You want scientific name? Aparajita. Yes, I'm sure you know that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Sir, this is Manisha from CSI IIIM.
Bolo.
Sir, actually, I have a question that after completion of the project, means after performing the experiment, we will have to compile all the data in Word file and send it to the mail to you, or we will have to present this as well on PowerPoint.
No. PowerPoint will not suffice. You have to write a report with proper references and other details.
Okay, and sir, we will have to send both hard copy.
Yes, you have to send it to your faculty coordinator and also to us.
Thank you, sir.
कौन बोल रहे हैं? हाँ, somebody had switched on his mic, and now it's okay. So yes, you will. Most labs, 99% of the cases. Yes, you are right. Platoria ternitia. That's right. Asian pigeon wings. Now most labs take our feedback as satisfactory. If we have said sometimes we request revision. Sometimes we request that while project is over, but if you can do this, this, and this, it will become more useful. Now, those are suggestions for you to consider voluntarily. But sometime when the report is highly inadequate, we request you to resubmit. But that happens only in 5-7% cases. 95% cases, your reports are reasonably comprehensive, and we have not had to make revision. But elaboration, yes, sometimes we do say that please elaborate this part so that people can find your report more useful. And I encourage you to share your report on your blog, on your institute website if you want to, and also permit us, if you don't have any problem with sharing the report, that we can also share it widely so that more people can know of it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
If you have any restrictions, supposing you're going to file patent or something, then mention clearly on the first page of your report, please, it is a report only for your eyes at this stage. We are going to file a patent, so please don't share it. And we will abide by that condition. So, but please mention, if you don't mention anything, we assume that you have given us a right to share it widely with whosoever may need it. Many times people write to us or certain problem which you have addressed, and we share with them. Any other comment before we close? Anybody else wants to say anything? Last point. All right. So thank you so much. Good luck to you. And as I was saying, I will show you my last slide of the presentation because that's where I wanted to convey to you the wishes. Let me open it.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. After the presentation, when we can submit the report to you, if we can
I
take
would
some
see
time.
generally our experience is that it takes you about 2 to 3 months generally. In some cases, it takes longer time, and we understand that. So, yeah, I mean, we are flexible in this regard. Don't take too long, but ideally, if within 2 to 3 months you submit the report, that will be very good.
Okay, sir.
Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
And don't forget to increase your upload to download ratio. If we cannot become Vishwaguru, we cannot become a leader if you don't share more than what we download. Only those people become leader in their profession when they share a lot. So I wish all of you will start sharing your thoughts, your ideas, little more than what you're doing so far. And your upload to download ratio will increase. Will it increase? Can I hope that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please do that.
Yes, sir.
And also remember that mind on the margin are not marginal mind. Do talk to your lab attendant. Do talk to your gardener. Do talk to your lower functional employees sometime. Make them sit with you. Have a cup of tea with them and talk to them about their knowledge, which you may like to find useful because they survive with very little resources. So they naturally develop very frugal solutions, which you can also develop. But as a community of learners, I think we should be willing to learn from anybody and everybody. So thank you so much. Good luck.
Hello, sir. 1 minute,
Yes.
sir.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, my name is Abdul Rahman. I'm from CSIR NGRI. Right now, I'm in Ahmedabad working in CGWB.
Okay.
Sir, I want to know the date which one you talked yesterday about some cultural event in Ahmedabad, I think.
Yes, there is a Satvik Traditional Food Festival from December 23rd to 26th and Bhagavad Vidyapeeth, Shola. So you are all welcome. Those of you who are in Ahmedabad or around, you are most welcome to visit Satvik. And if you tell me, then you don't have to buy a ticket. I'll get you free admission. If you let me know your identity pass, just let me know and I'll tell the people at the gate that they will let you come. I'll be there all the 4 days except in the afternoon of 22nd, 23rd, 24th, when I have a class, and I'll come back after the class. So yes, please feel welcome. And you will meet organic farmers, you will see a lot of traditional food, and of course, a lot more. There will be innovation exhibition also there, which Gyani is putting up. You will also see the exhibition. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Sir, myself Gayatri, sir. Sir, may you please mention the venue again, where it is?
Yes, I'm mentioning it here on the chat.
Yeah, sir.
So let me do that.
Bhagwat Peeth.
Vidya Peeth. Sola. And this Bhagwat Vidya Peeth, Sola.
Sola Crossroad.
Sola Crossroad, okay, good. So you have figured it out. And this will be, there's enough parking space. That's the reason we are doing it there. We have done it before also. More than 40 to 50,000 people come. So if any one of you want to highlight your social application solution, which is applicable for masses, this is the time to showcase. So tell your friends, if there is anybody who has DIY solution or a solution which masses can use or farming sector can use, just let me know right away and we will create facilities for you to showcase that. You're most welcome. Those of you who are foodies, you can't find a better place. Each stall will have at least 2 to 3 millet dishes. And there are people coming from Kashmir, Sikkim and Nagaland also. So you will find a great variety of food and all kinds of products.
Sir, please share your email also.
Very easy. Can't you figure out my email? Who will tell my email? अरे यार मैं उम्र जब यंग लोग मुझसे ईमेल मांगते हैं ना, मुझे थोड़ी तकलीफ होती है. पता है क्यों? Because it's so easy to find out. I am so visible on media, on social media and on internet कि यार किसी को भी मिल जाएगा. लिखो अनिल गुप्ता IIM या अनिल गुप्ता इनोवेशन ईमेल लिखो जरा, अभी नेट पे लिखो, अभी मेरे सामने.
यस सर.
लिखो. ये भी एक आर्ट होती है भाई. You will find it right away.
On which day you are available at that?
I will be available on all the 4 days except 2:30 to 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock on 23rd and 24th because I have classes in IIM.
Okay.
So those 2 days in the afternoon, I'm not there. Only for 2:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock because it takes half an hour to go. By 6:15 till 9 o'clock in the night, I'll be there. 6 to 9, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, I'm there. On 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, I'm there full day. Yes. So welcome and come and chat with me. That's right. You have got the email. Look at this.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Santosh found it. So friends, there's a lesson in it. बुरा तो नहीं मानोगे मैं कहूँ तो? अब्दुल रहमान,
नहीं सर.
देखो ऐसा है बच्चे, जो चीजें आप ढूंढ सकते हो ना उसको मत पूछो.
यस. एक्चुअली सर क्या है कि
क्या होता है, मेरी तरफ से सुनो, मैं अपना वक्तव्य बता दूं. मुझे लगता है यार ये मेरे से बात करना चाहता है, मेरा ईमेल नहीं ढूंढ सकता, क्या बात करते हैं यार. तो मुझे बड़ा अजीब सा लगता है कि इस एज में फॉर अ पर्सन ऑफ माय काइंड हु इज सो विजिबल अदरवाइज यू कैन इजीली फाइंड. सो यू यूज द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू आस्क सेकंड जनरेशन क्वेश्चन. ठीक है ना? Just an advice, don't mind it, but it will be useful.
एक्चुअली मैं सर ये सोचा कि कोई हम कहीं से सर्च करें, हो सकता है कोई ऑफिशियल आपका मेल मिले. मैं चाह रहा था कि आपका पर्सनल मेल मुझे
नहीं, मेरे एक बात और बता दूं मैं आपको, सबके लिए बता दूं, मेरे ईमेल ओपन एक्सेस हैं. मेरे सारे स्टाफ के बाद मेरे पासवर्ड होते हैं, तो आप जो भी लिखेंगे ना वो मेल कोई भी पढ़ सकता है मेरे ऑफिस के अंदर. मैं कोई पर्सनल ईमेल नहीं यूज करता हूँ.
ओके सर, थैंक यू.
आई हैव मेड अ प्रिंसिपल इन माय लाइफ, लिव लाइफ एज ओपनली एज पॉसिबल. तो सारे काम आसान से हो जाते हैं. कोई भी मेरी मेल से कोई भी चीज को निकाल सकता है, भेज सकता है. मुझे कोई चिंता नहीं करनी पड़ती है. देयर इज नथिंग कॉन्फिडेंशियल इन माय एंटायर लाइफ. इट्स सो इजी. आई लिव दैट लाइफ. इवन माय पासवर्ड, मेरे एटीएम के कार्ड के मेरे पिन भी पता होते हैं मेरे स्टाफ को. बिकॉज इट्स इजी. मैं उनको बोल सकता हूँ जाकर पैसा निकाल लो मेरे कार्ड से, तो वो निकाल लाते हैं. तो मेरा काम बड़ा बच जाता है. I live a life where minimum constraints of boundaries. तो बड़ा आराम से जिंदगी, बहुत सारे काम हो जाते हैं इसमें. I'm not saying you should do that.
So that's why it is called, sir, simple living, high thinking.
अब वो पता नहीं, लेकिन मैं इतना कह सकता हूँ कि जितनी कम बाउंड्रीज हो लाइफ में उतना ज्यादा आप कोलैबोरेट कर सकते हैं. दैट्स ऑल आई एम सेइंग. तो कोई भी मेरा स्टाफ जो मेरे मेल पे से, मैं बोलूंगा भाई उसकी वजह से वहां से डॉक्यूमेंट वो डाउनलोड कर लो और वो उसको भेज दो, तो वो भेज देंगे ना मेरे को. मेरा टाइम बच जाएगा फिर वो करने के लिए. अगर मैं कहूंगा कि नहीं मैं ही करूंगा तो सारे पासवर्ड मेरे पास ही रहेंगे, तो सारा काम मुझे ही करना पड़ेगा ना फिर. So that is the advantage of openness in life. A lot of things can be done by your students, by your staff. मजे से जिंदगी जियो यार, कुछ ऐसा है ही नहीं जिंदगी में जिसको छुपाना पड़े, तो फिर क्या दिक्कत है. ठीक है ना. So good luck my friends. As
so much,
live as openly as possible in life. It's blissful. It is a wonderful life and you will enjoy it. ठीक है. Good luck.
Thank you very much, sir.
All the
Thank
best.
you.
See you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
See you on
Thank you, sir.
21st, isn't it? 21st, 22nd.
20th, sir.
20th. I'm sorry. 20th, 21st, 22nd. 20th, 21st, 22nd. All the 3 days. And please be available to listen to each other's presentation. ऐसा मत करना कि भाई अपना अपना कर दिया और फिर चले गए. ऐसा मत करना. सुनना दूसरों को भी और फीडबैक भी देना हर एक को. ठीक है.
सर
थैंक यू सर, बाय बाय.
बाय बाय.
सर अब नंबर बढ़ रहा है सर. 97 हो गए पार्टिसिपेंट. Yes, sir. जब से आपने बोला ना सर, तब 18 थे, अभी 99 हो गए.
चलिए अच्छी बात है, अच्छी बात है. कुछ लोग
ओके
वापस आ
सर.
गए. ओके बाय बाय.
थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू वेरी मच सर.
बाय बाय.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
God bless
Thank
you.
you, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
प्रेजेंटेशन सुभाश्री, प्रेजेंटेशन होगा 20, 21, 22 इसी सेशन के अंदर आपका of your synopsis. That's what we are talking about. Is it clear, Subhashri?
Thank you, sir.
All right.